Positive thinking does not guarantee happiness. And I'm going to break down exactly why that is and how you can use this concept to really shift your life and shift who you are. So keep on listening. I took some time to sit in the silence and bam, it hit me. I journaled it out, and one of the reasons why, or the main reason why, positive thinking just doesn't bring you happiness is because with positive thinking, the lens in which you see the world, it doesn't shift. And it doesn't change your happiness levels. And it doesn't change the lens in which reality is created for you. And this is really, really important, especially if you are a woman who is suffering in some area of your life. I want you to pay attention, because this concept that I'm about to go over is really something that you're probably going to want to master. It's something as a spiritual explorer that if you take on what I'm saying today in gaining the knowing of it and really putting it into practice, and you're consistent with it and you work with it and you really try to get the mastery of it, this can literally shift your life. One of the reasons why is because it allows you, when you understand the concept, it's going to allow you to be the woman that you need to be to create the life that you long for more health, for more inner peace, and yes, lasting happiness. So I want to share how this unfolded in one of my life experiences of getting very sick. It all started with a trip to Paris, and how that saved my life. Yes, my love for travel kickstarted my journey down the healing path. To celebrate my 40th birthday, my husband and I traveled to Paris. We were so eager to experience the beauty of the most famous avenue in the world, so we headed over to the Champs-Élysées and we strolled the beautiful tree-lined streets hand in hand, taking in all the beautiful designer boutiques, the grand cafes, all the old architecture with the Arc de Triomphe in the distance, and I was just in absolute awe of the beauty that was surrounding both of us. I mean, very romantic, right? Until we crossed a busy thoroughfare. I was following the fast-moving crowd to get across the street because there were just so many cars who were so impatiently waiting for us to reach the other side, and I actually failed to notice the sturdy, short, vertical pillars that they have. There was one in front of me, and they call them bollards there, and they're actually made to withstand vehicle impact, so you get the gist of how solid it was. Well, I walked right into the bollard at full tilt, and let me tell you, the pain was excruciating. And right there, in the middle of all that glory and all that grandeur, I actually doubled over and went into shock. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was pregnant. And by the time we traveled back home, I ended up having a miscarriage. Now, this accident in Paris was really the incentive for me to seek medical attention when I returned home, because I wasn't healing and I had developed further symptoms. So without this accident, I would not have gone to the doctor. So know this, that my miscarriage ended up saving my life. So seeking medical assistance really led me to finding out that I was actually quite sick, very sick. In fact, I was completely unaware that my health was being impacted by a great number of things. So get ready, because I was diagnosed with quite a long list. I had extreme adrenal exhaustion, systemic candida, celiac. I got diagnosed with EBV reactivation. I had high heavy metal toxicity with a leaky gut. On top of all of that, I had Lyme disease, I had mold toxicity, and an impaired ability to detox. And then I had parasites, and they found Hashimoto's disease. So this is a full-blown, critical, chronic illness diagnosis. And it really felt like a snowball effect. I just kept getting more and more diagnoses where each piece of the puzzle seemed to be impacting the other. But in coming to terms, to bring it back with losing a child, alongside finding out that I was so ill, this was the thing. People around me kept saying, "Oh, Charlene, look at the bright side. At least you don't look sick." Or, everything happens for a reason. Just stay positive. Now, for me, this turned out to be reckless optimism, because I ended up dismissing how I was feeling. I was dismissing the loss. I was dismissing the fear and not letting myself feel those things. And there was also guilt and shame involved. And at the beginning, I was just so desperate for a way to get better. And I was always told, look for the positives. And all it did was take me away from the reality that I was in. I know that it can be hard to be around pain and fear and guilt and all of the feelings that come in the package, but even more so to the one who's experiencing all of that. So toxic positivity just made me feel less safe in the world. The positivity felt like a violation where I was being dismissed, not seen, not heard, and not understood. So this bright side of life approach, the bright-sided approach of positive thinking, turned out to be just another way of gaslighting. Because when someone is struggling and you offer up this false positivity, it is a form of unintentional gaslighting if you think about it. It really denies somebody their reality. And it starts to make people doubt themselves and to doubt their experiences and their feelings and their responses. And like Jane Ruffino said, she said, it's telling someone who's being force-fed a shit sandwich that they should appreciate the free lunch. I finally reached a point where I ended up surrendering to my life and honoring what is and how I felt. I let myself feel my feelings. I looked at where those feelings were coming from, what meaning I had created around the feelings, and what beliefs I had put in place. And then as a result, what behaviors I adopted. And I essentially came to terms with my reality and how past traumas were impacting my present, how positivity was toxic in that moment. So in doing so, guess what happened? It created this beautiful open space for me to start healing. It created space for me to move out of being stuck mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically, and spiritually. And that was the breakthrough point for me. So to bring it back, to bring it full circle, positive thinking won't bring happiness because the lens in which you see the world doesn't shift. So here's what I mean by that. When you're struggling and you're going through hard times and you're going through all of the things, one of the things that's going to shift everything for you is how you perceive those things. I see women all the time who try to change their inner self-talk or their emotions that they're feeling because, gee whiz, right? Thinking positively sounds so promising on the surface, doesn't it? Well, who doesn't want to think good thoughts and have everything magically work out for them? But the truth of the matter is that positive thinking doesn't always help or even work. And don't get me wrong, there isn't anything wrong in being optimistic or being upbeat, but positive thinking can quickly become toxic if it denies or invalidates how you feel, your emotions. So what is toxic positivity? It is when you dismiss challenging emotions and you respond to distress with false reassurances. It comes from feeling uncomfortable with negative emotions. While there's no question that ruminating in negative emotions is unhelpful, whitewashing your insecurities with positive thinking is merely a superficial and very temporary fix. And know this, nothing is 100% perfect. Nothing. Nothing is ever 100% perfect. So if you have the wrong lens on, you know what's going to happen. The lens in which you're using to see the world is going to start magnifying what you focus on. And I'm a believer in two things. One, toxic positivity can really trigger a self-defeating spiral, and it spirals down, particularly for those women who are empaths, who are highly sensitive people, the ENFJs, the INFJs, those feeling judgers on the Myers-Briggs scale. These are the women who think and feel everything so much more deeply. So toxic positivity can bring out our self-doubt. It can bring out our people-pleasing, our imposter syndrome, our guilt, our sadness, our embarrassment, and it can even bring out our workaholic natures. And number two, toxic positivity operates at such a surface level of consciousness that it does nothing to actually help us process our emotions or to deal with the subconscious mind where all of the automations of negative self-talk and limiting beliefs really live. And I get it. Everyone tells you to just stay positive or think happy thoughts, or my very favorite, everything happens for a reason. And look at our daily round where we are bombarded with this type of uplifting quote or phrase on all of our social media channels, right? So it's very easy to fall into the positivity trap, so much so that the positivity becomes toxic. Remember that validation is so powerful. Telling someone to be more positive or to look on the bright side just is not going to stop them feeling how they do. And no amount of being told not to feel changes that. In fact, it can heighten it. But let me ask you this. Does every woman who applies this positive thinking approach become happy? No. And you can actually make things worse if you hold on to that belief, right? So here are some signs that positivity has turned toxic. When you start to dismiss any feelings that aren't positive, positive. Feeling guilty for your emotions. If you start judging other people, judging other experiences, comparing yourself as like, oh, how does that person handle their tough situation, right? Sometimes you even feel shame for experiencing a more negative emotion. So you try to hide the uncomfortable feelings, or you focus on just the positive aspects of a painful situation. And so those are some signs that you're experiencing toxic positivity. And research is showing that women who avoid their own emotions just feel worse later on. So basically, if you ghost your own emotions, they're going to keep coming back to haunt you until you finally deal with them. So toxic positivity actually creates obstacles to processing any trauma or feelings because you're invalidating your own experience. So true happiness does not come from suppressing negative emotions and touting feel-good only statements, but rather leaning into what you're authentically feeling and accepting all of your emotions, positive and negative. And here's the thing, there's more to happiness than just feeling good all the time. And as Jane Ruffino has stated, she shared, of course we should try to feel positive, and it's great to be in a place where it feels safe to hope, but sometimes that's the very thing that gets us into a big mess. We can't demand that someone look at the light if we're refusing to look at the hole. I love that. We can't demand that someone look at the light if we're refusing to look at the hole. So if positive thinking isn't the solution, then how do we make it through tough times? Here's some ways to cultivate true positivity in your life and true healing, as a matter of fact, and you can nix the toxic positivity for good. Here's the approaches: Kundalini meditation, EFT tapping, co-regulation, where you're with like-minded community that you can trust, that you can be safe with, and a mentor that you resonate with, getting clear on what you need, expressing how you feel, and letting yourself feel your feelings. That's it in a nutshell. So know this, if you walk away with nothing else, know that you have the right to feel your emotions. And that is so important. I'm going to say it again. You have the right to feel your emotions. And the big idea here is that you accept how you feel without any judgment. Just try to notice if you start to avoid or deflect any tough emotions, and that can be for yourself or towards others, and then redirect yourself so that you can stand firm in your own truth with no more sidestepping. So the next time someone reaches out to you, just take a moment to think about how they're feeling and how you would feel if it was happening to you. Try to empathize a bit and try to relate, because that's all anyone really needs. So instead of saying, it could be worse, you could try saying something like, well, we experience hard things. How can I support you? Or instead of saying, gee, good vibes only, where you dismiss another person's difficult feeling, you could say, it's okay to feel the way you feel. All feelings are allowed and your feelings are valid. Or instead of saying, everything happens for a reason, you could say something simple like, I'm sorry you're going through this. Jody Kenmore had a great quote about this, and I hope I don't mess it up, but it goes something like this. She said, gratitude actually comes after a process of surrendering to our painful emotions, not after forcing it into something positive. So think about that. The key really is finding a good balance of positivity with remaining honest with yourself, finding that silver lining without rushing the healing process. And it really is a process of integrating your emotions that builds the true resilience in any unstable times. So if you're chasing happiness, you're likely never going to find it if you're looking through that positive only lens, that positive thinking lens. And what you really need to do is to look at how you perceive the world, what you're defining as negative and positive, because I'm telling you right now, There's always a perspective that you can bring that's going to allow you to just live happiness, live gratefulness in a better way, which allows you to ultimately be courageous and live in your true reality so that you can be better, stronger, happier, and the most powerful woman who creates a life that you love for yourself by letting it ripple outward to your loved ones and then ultimately the world. And you know, for me, I want to create change, period. I want to help women disrupt the healing spaces, and I want to help women create a better world by raising our own consciousness. I mean, we do it by raising our consciousness one woman at a time. And if you're anything like me, you want that too. Because I know who I want to be. Who do you want to be? So that's what I'm going to leave you with today. And if you want to start healing what holds you back, you can certainly learn more about my healing systems, my thoughts, my approaches in my upcoming free 3-part live online training series. It's called The Healing Revolution, and it starts February 3rd and runs to the 5th. So click around the video or head over to charlenestar.com, waitlist THR, and thank you so much for tuning in. Bye for now.